Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Yasoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Munatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhu. I suddenly remembered my father, so I just lost my track. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, Text 27. Om Narayanam Namaskritya Naranjaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Can we do the Premadvani prayers? Premadvani, can we do those? I completely forgot. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Stottara Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Stottara Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Sukaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Syamakund Radha Kind Giri Govardhan ki jai. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Sri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Oh my goodness. So we'll do the verse first and then I'll do the pranam mantras. Do the prayer, do the verse first and then I'll do the pranam mantras. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shanti hi asadhavo loke durmaitraha chadma veshinah tesham udeti agham kale rogaha patakinam iva Santi hya asadavo loke durmaitraschadma veshinah tesham udyetyagam kale rogapatikanam iva Santi hya avata santa Santi hyasadavo loke durmaitraschadma veshinah tesham udeti agham kale roga patikinam iva Santi hyasadavo loke durmaitraschadma veshinah tesham udetyagam kale rogapatikanamiva Eshamudetya Gamkale
Santiya Sadaboloke Durmaitra Chatma Vesina Esamudyata Gamkale Rogapatakinam Iva Santiya Sadaboloke Durmaitras Chatma Vesina Tesham Udetya Gamkale Roga Patakinamiva Shanti Asaro Loke Durmaitras Chatma Vesneha Tesham Udetya Gamkale Roga Patakinamiva
Shanti asadavo loke
Shanti asadavo loke
Durmaitraschadma veshinah
Durmaitraschadma veshinah
Tesham udeti agam kale
Tesham udyetyagam
Roga pataki nam iva
Rogapatikanamiva Santi hayasadvo loke Durmaitraschadma veshinah Tesham udyetyagam kale Rogapatikanamiva Shanti are he indeed Asadavaha dishonest persons Loke, within this world. Durmaitraha, cheating friends. Chadma Veshinaha, wearing false garbs. Tesham, of all of them. Udeti, arises. Agam, the reaction of sinful life. Kale, in due course of time. Rogaha, disease. Patikanam, of sinful men. Iva, like. Translation. In due course of time, various types of diseases are manifest in those who are sinful. Similarly, in this world, there are many deceptive friends in false garbs, but eventually, because of their false behavior, their actual enmity becomes manifest. Can I repeat the translation? In due course of time, various types of diseases are manifest in those who are sinful. Similarly, in this world, there are many deceptive friends in false garb, but eventually, because of their false behavior, their actual enmity becomes manifest. Purport. Being so anxious about the education of his boy Prahlāda, Hiraṇyakaśipu was very much dissatisfied. When Prahlāda began teaching about devotional service, Hiraṇyakaśipu immediately regarded the teachers as his enemies in the garb of friends. In this verse, the words rogaha, patikanam, Iva refers to disease, which is the most sinful and miserable of the conditions of material life. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi. Disease is a symptom of the body of a sinful person. The Smriti Shastras say, murderers of Brahmanas are later afflicted by tuberculosis, drunkards become toothless, those who have stolen gold are afflicted by diseased nails, and sinful men who have sexual connections with the wife of a superior are afflicted by leprosy and similar skin diseases. So I'm going to read the translation of the next two verses. I think they all come together in one thought. And so the next verse, 28, is, the son of Sukracharya, Hiraṇyakasipu's spiritual master, said, O enemy of King Indra, O king, whatever your son Prahlāda said was not taught to him by me or anyone else. His spontaneous devotional service has naturally developed in him. Therefore, please give up your anger and do not unnecessarily accuse me. It is not good to insult a Brahmana in this way. His spontaneous, therefore, please give up your anger and do not unnecessarily accuse me. Oh, I'm sorry, accuse us. I'm sorry, it is. Accuse us. I'm sorry. See how the words can, what we think in our head, we got to be careful what we're reading. Thank you, David. It is not good to insult a Brahmana in this way. Sri Narada translation for 29. Sri Narada Muni continued, when Hiraṇyakasipu received this reply from the teacher, he again addressed his son Prahlāda. Hiraṇyakasipu said, you rascal, most fallen of our family, if you have not received this education from your teachers, where have you gotten it? Srila Visvanatha Chakravarti Thakura explains that devotional service is actually Bhadra Sati, not Abhadra Sati. Abhadra Ashati. In other words, knowledge of devotional service can be neither inauspicious nor contrary to etiquette. To learn devotional service is the duty of everyone. Therefore, the spontaneous education of Prahlāda Maharaj is supported as auspicious and perfect. Jai. Om Ajnānatimirandasya Jnānāñjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Sunyavati Paschatya Deshtarni Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat krupatamaham vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhvam Sri Chaitanya Mishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you very much for allowing me to read this Bhagavatam today. So we are in the 7th canto, and we were talking about, and we're in the place where Prahlāda Maharaj is responding to his father's inquiry about what he's learned in school. So his father is hoping that he's going to hear something beneficial in his eyes. And beneficial, he's thinking materially beneficial, about how to control your enemies, how to control the kingdom, and how to protect what is ours. But Prabhupada, what is he? Prahlāda Maharaj, he tells him what is the greatest knowledge he's learned, and the greatest knowledge he's learned is how to worship the Lord. And we went through this beautiful verse of Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam, right? The whole process. So in these verses, I would actually, a couple of thoughts came to mind as I was reading this, and I was thinking about the character and the personality of these two different people on far sides of a spectrum. We have Hiraṇyakaśipu, who is completely identifying with the body, completely identifying with what is mine, how to protect what is mine, completely attached to sense gratification and illusion. And then on the other side, we have Prahlāda Maharaj. And Prahlāda Maharaj, his mood of a devotee who is full of compassion, who is full of love, and who is fearless. So we notice in this one episode here, Hiraṇyakaśipu is angry. Why is he angry? What do you think made him angry? Glorifying the enemy, yes. Yes. Disobedience of his son, yes.
And someone killed his brother.
Oh, yes, somebody killed his brother, yes, and that's who he wants to go after. But if you think about it a little bit more deeply, in the Bhagavad Gita, in verse 37, it talks about Arjuna asks Krishna, what is it that causes, the living entity to perform these activities, even though they know it's bad for him. And what does he say? It's the cause. Lust. Lust meaning this desire for material enjoyment. And so what he says, when a living entity, Prabhupada says it much better. So when a living entity comes in contact with a material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into a lust in association with the mode of passion. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the material existence. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. These modes exhibit themselves in wrath and other corollaries. If, therefore, the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. So this is what is driving Hiraṇyakaśipu. His lust for power is leading him to get angry because he's not able to satisfy those desires of his. And his son, who is in his eyes, and a problem to him in his enjoyment. Because, this fearfulness is what's causing him to not only become illusioned, get angry, get illusioned, but also go into abusive behavior. So this is what this illusion is causing him to become abusive. Now, on the other hand, let's look at Prahlāda Maharaj. He's fearless. He is completely engrossed in the smarana, in the glorification, and in the memory of his worshipful Lord. Now, the thing is that, does he stop here? So this is not the first, nor is it the last confrontation that he's going to have with his father. Now, you would think that if you know somebody's angry, you would stay away from him, or you wouldn't antagonize him. But he's not thinking it's antagonizing, right? Prahlāda thinking, I am giving you the highest knowledge. It is out of this deep love for his father and eventually his deep love for his schoolmates that he continues this process of telling them about Krishna consciousness, about what is the true goal of life. So, and this is what true friendship is. True friendship means speaking about that which is most beneficial to the living entity, which is the soul and not the body. And so this is what this epitome of Prabhupada and Prahlāda Maharaj. So our mood of Srila Prabhupada is this mood of helping all those living entities in spite of all the danger and in spite of all the hardship. So that was one thing. And this reminds me, and he's not the first one. And it says in here that he sees, what does he say? He sees him as his enemy. So when somebody wants to tell you, people like to hear what they like to hear. People like to hear those things that glorify them. People don't like to hear something that will maybe be critical, but it could be constructive criticism. But a true friend tells you the truth no matter how hard it is, right? If you are being silly or foolish, your friend is going to say, that was out of line. You shouldn't have done that, right? Everybody else may say, oh, now it's okay, it's not that big of a thing. But a true friend is one who will actually tell you the truth. Somebody who is intelligent and who is not covered by this wrath and this illusion will listen. And since Ram Smarana is on many people's minds this week, this reminds me of a pastime in the Ramayana where Maricha, okay, he is one of the demons, right? That during when Sri Ram comes into Dandakaranya forest and he kills the demons. So Maricha was one of the demons, but he wasn't killed. He was thrown away far into the ocean. Now, after this incident, he gets a little bit of intelligence and he says, I don't want to deal with this person. He's very, very powerful. And he goes, he takes a life of asceticism and goes into the forest. And he is so scared that even if he hears the letter Ra, he doesn't have to hear Rama, he just has to hear Ra. He's so afraid of Rama. He's continuously meditating on Rama in a very negative sense. That's another point, but that's, But his brother comes to him, Ravana comes to him and tells him, I want you to, he goes to this ashram and tells him, I want you to do this. I want you to go and, act as a deer, get Sita. And Maricha tells him that, no, that's ridiculous. First of all, Ravana goes through this whole thing of, of criticizing Rama and insulting him and saying all this stuff. And then Maricha turns around and tells him, no, you're wrong. He's very powerful. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you better not mess with him. Why don't you just be satisfied with what you have? But again, covered over with lust, covered over with this desire to control everything, the goddess of fortune as well. He says, no, you need to do this or I'm going to kill you. So Maricha says, better to die at the hands of the Lord than my evil brother. So he does this. So that's making the best of a bad bargain. Okay, so he figures at least the Lord is. And see, his mind, just by that little bit of association with Rama, right, being attacked by him, actually. It wasn't like a pleasant association, but his mind was a little bit changed. But look at this Hiraṇyakaśipu. His son, his own son, is giving him that association. But because he's so covered over, because he's so addicted to that material enjoyment, he can't see reality. He can't see what's beneficial for him. And we see this in the material world, because when somebody has an addiction to something, do they see sense? Can you talk to them? They don't listen. They're not ready. They're just so addicted, right? So we are, in a sense, addicted to that material nature, and he was too. And we need to connect to the Lord through his devotees in the mantra in order to remove that. We need the intervention of the Mahamantra. So just like in addiction, they do an intervention where your friends come and they kind of hold you down. They tell you, this is not, but what you're doing is bad for you and everything like this, And if they are a little bit aware, they'll listen. But many times, we see these, this is not just about the demon, Hiraṇyakaśipu and Prahlāda. This is also about, in this material world, as we come in contact with different people, they're so covered over by their attachments to what they have and what they want to enjoy that they're not ready to listen to the message of Krishna. And so, this again, I always like to connect the Bhagavatam with life, because I think it's not only the story about the Lord and his devotees, but it's also a story about life for us. What is there in life for us, and how do we apply this to our daily life? And this is, I think, to me, the message here was that just as Prahlāda and Srila Prabhupada, in spite of the hardship that they go through, consider it the utmost important duty of a human being. And as he says in this last verse that I read, he says this, what does he say? Therefore, the devotional service is actually Bhadrasati. In other words, knowledge of devotional service can neither be auspicious nor contrary to etiquette. To learn devotional service is the duty of everyone. So it is the duty of everyone to learn this devotional service. And in the mood of Srila Prabhupada and our Sampradaya, the mood of giving Krishna to everybody through book distribution, through Harinam, is the way that we share that knowledge and try to help people get uncovered by this illusion of being attached to the body. Another thing I want to talk about, and of course, is spontaneous devotional service. So this is a natural inclination of the soul. This is not something that's artificial or something that's imposed on the soul. This is something that's natural. So if we, as devotees and as examples of Krishna's love and Prahlāda Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada, if we can exemplify that, not only the behavior of a devotee, but actually go out and tell those people that are willing to listen. Sometimes many people are not willing to listen. And Govardhan Prabhu is excellent at explaining all the people that he meets. I remember you were talking about last class Sunday when the girl dropped the book because she said, "No, I like my enjoyment." Right? Something like that is what she said. Yeah, Govardhan Prabhu, yeah. She says, I don't want to be, so some people, are adamant about not hearing the truth. But we as devotees still, want to, and I think out of a couple of reasons we do that. Because we've promised our spiritual master we would do that. That was one thing, right? Second thing, out of gratitude. Out of gratitude with what we've got. So that's another reason why I do this. And the other thing is because we have actually felt the change. We have actually seen that transformation in our heart where devotional service has actually created so many benefits for us. And we may think that this is not possible, or this is Prahlāda Maharaj. This is this was in the many yugas ago. How can people do this? Who does this? But I wanted to read from this. This is the biography of Bhakti Swami Maharaj. It's called The Black Lotus. And he is one of Srila Prabhupada's stalwart book distributors. And I want to read to you a little bit about what he went through in order to distribute Krishna consciousness. And he actually went behind the Iron Curtain during that whole East and West. Some of you are younger than me, a lot younger, so, you probably don't remember those times when there was the, Berlin Wall and all this stuff. So I'm going to read a little bit of this since we have some time. It says, Ghanashyam, his name was Ghanashyam as a brahmachari, and then he was later initiated as Bhakti Swami Maharaj. Ghanashyama preached there at great personal risk. The Iron Curtain erected frightening border defenses between the countries of the Western and Eastern blocs. These were among the most heavily militarized districts in the world, particularly the regions between East and West Germany. In some areas, the inner German border had intimidating double fences made of steel mesh with sharp edges, and in others, a high concrete barrier similar to the Berlin Wall. The actual borderline was branded by ominous posts and signs and was guarded by numerous watchtowers set behind the barrier. German border guards patrolled the area with orders to shoot unauthorized persons on sight. Those who were lucky enough not to be killed were escorted to rough and unpredictable prison camps. This was the backdrop to Ghanashyam's service of book distribution in Eastern Europe. And then he gives a little bit of about his experiences. There I was in this communist country, and communism was full on at this time. There was no way anyone could help me from the outside. And if you want to see horrible jails, in some of these countries, it's just unbelievable. Even the hospitals, what to speak of the jails, were horrendous. And I've spent many times in both. Terrible food, sanitation, treatment. It was just unbelievable. But the part I wanted to mention is that a couple of times I escaped by the skin of my teeth. I mean, I had it down. James Bond didn't have anything on me. I was able to sneak out without being noticed. I got the car and mapped out the best route, the different directions to the border. But sometimes I was put in jail for distributing books because we kept hidden books in the walls of our vans. While in jail, I had nothing to do but to chant and to eat cabbage. I was eating cabbage and apples. That's what I lived on for quite some time. It was the only thing that was available, but I'll tell you, at that time, the cabbage was wonderful and the apple was a great dessert. When you have nothing to eat and you're hungry, you begin to appreciate simple things. One time I was driving for the border and was stopped by the guards. Now my license had blood on it from a small mishap that happened earlier that day. And when I handed it to them for them to check it, the guard looked and saw the blood. He immediately suspected something foul, of course, and called me into the station. Well, that was all they needed. I was temporarily arrested, but I got out. Krishna always protected me. It's actually amazing how I managed to maintain myself there. Sometimes I lived on public trains, going from one car to the other, narrowly escaping the authorities. Sometimes I would chant in public bathrooms. If I get caught chanting religious hymns or prayers, that would be it. I would end up in jail again, or worse. So this is the mood of a pure devotee, and we have so many examples of devotees who have done this, and of course our own devotees here who go out every day to do this. But in all kinds of circumstances, the devotee's most important desire is to give this understanding and this message to those who are illusioned. And we see in Srila Prabhupada's own life, throughout his own life, when he left India, with barely anything, and he came to this country, we have so many examples of him being chased out of his room by somebody who was high on drugs. I mean, can you just imagine somebody who's like, 70, 80 years old and he's being chased out of his room like that? Yet, did he turn around and leave? Did he stop? No, he didn't, right? He continued, and because of Srila Prabhupada's sacrifice, because of the sacrifice of so many devotees, we are here today. We are here today, and we are being blessed with the knowledge that will remove this illusion from our heart and make us realize who we really are. And we, in turn, have the responsibility as it says in our purports. It is the responsibility of each and every devotee to give this Krishna consciousness in one way or another to anybody and everybody. So I will stop there. That's all I have for you today. If there's any questions or comments or reflections, you guys can give me reflections, any thoughts that come to mind. I hope I didn't put you to sleep. Oh, yes, just hold on a second and give them one.
Hare Krishna, and I apologize if this has been brought up before. Maybe it has, but I haven't been here for a while. About how you were talking about how Hiraṇyakaśipu, because of lust, he was like offended by Prahlāda Maharaj. I was also thinking about how, because it's not just anyone, it's also his own son.
Yeah.
So there's that whole thing of like, parent, I'm not a parent, but I've heard that, well, I mean, I've also experienced as a child that like parents often think of their children as an extension of themselves. And so there's that whole like, no, you have to do what I want you to do. Like, I'm not really prepared to accept you as your own person. So that must have made it even worse. Like, I was wondering if you wanted to say anything about that.
Yes, yes. And also, it's not just his father, but he's also thinking about, we're this great lineage of great demons, and how dare you go against what is our family pride, right? Yes, it's a perfect example of that, how, when a child wants to do their own thing or wants to break out of the mold, many times, the father wants the son to take on the business or follow in his footsteps. If you're a doctor, you want your son to be a doctor. This whole thing that's there, right? So that whole same idea like this. So that really angered him very much. So how dare you? You're my son, And we'll see. And it's just wonderful. I don't want to go ahead, but it's just wonderful when you see, speaking of children, how important it is that from childhood, this devotional service, being the Sunday school teacher and a grandma and a mom, yes, I will say that again. So, yes, the importance of from childhood to expose them to Krishna consciousness. But just because we have not been exposed in childhood, we're not lost. That's the beauty of devotional service. It doesn't have to be taught from birth. Anytime you take that one step towards Krishna, He's ready to take so many steps towards you. And sometimes he comes personally, like for Prahlāda Maharaj, or sometimes he sends a devotee. And I'm sure many of us have so many examples of, oh, I wish that I could do this, and suddenly it comes up. And you're like, how did that happen? And that's what is Shyamasundar Prabhu called it? He calls it Krishna magic. Krishna magic happens all the time. Thank you for that. Prabhu, you had a question? Yes.
Krishna, thank you for the class. You mentioned that sometimes illusion, something like this, covered us, and we can't hear someone speak to us, and we can't hear. And should we continue speak if person not here, or no?
No, you should not continuously speak if they're not willing to hear. But that doesn't say you can't go a different way. You can always give them prasadam. See, the thing is that we don't want to antagonize anybody. See, Vaiseshika Prabhu always says something that's very important. He says, always leave a good impression. So if there's somebody that does not want to listen, then we don't want to antagonize them. We're not Prahlāda Maharaj. We can't purify them. I mean, the mantra will purify them. Hare Krishna, just say Hare Krishna. If they hear the mantra, just hearing the name is enough to start uncovering that nature. So definitely, if they're willing to listen, let them listen. If they're not, we don't want to antagonize them. So there's different ways, subtle ways in which we can approach such people. Would you like to come to my house, have dinner, serve them prasadam? You know what I mean? And make friends. See, the thing is that if you make friends with people and what is this? Come to them as a friend. Nobody wants to hear a preacher. Nobody wants to hear a lecture. Even devotees don't want to be told if they've done something wrong. Or, oh, let me tell you, because we're all still covered. It takes it takes a little bit of time for us to control our ego and take advice and something, to the heart. So, so with that in mind, leave a good impression, and there's so many different ways. Different ways, yes.
Continue question is not only for ordinary people, also with devotees. We sometimes have some things that we try to speak something and they can't hear. What in this way, how we should do?
So, I think it depends on the situation. So it's really hard to say broadly. I think, and this is from, so I live in an extended family, and I have until recently my mother-in-law passed, but my in-laws lived with us, and kids and grandkids at some point also. And I was the quote-unquote manager, right, in the temple. So I was temple manager basically at home. And so sometimes I would have to say stuff to different people, whether it be my in-laws or my kids. And I think it's all about time, place, and circumstance. I think two things have to be thought about. One is our own intention. Is our ego in this? Are we trying to be the devotee that tells them what it's like and how it is? Or are we truly, or do we truly want to tell them something that's beneficial? So that's first thing. So first thing is our mood and our intention has to be analyzed. Now again, time, place, and the circumstance. So is this the right time? If there's something that they did wrong, and this is very much so with kids, anybody, kids, adults, anybody. Let's say they did something wrong. You don't want to jump on them right then, right? You're going to turn them off. So first of all, you need to understand what is it they're doing and why are they doing that? What is the intention behind their action? Once you've analyzed those two things and pray to Krishna seriously, then I think that you will get a time where you will understand, okay, maybe this is how I tell this person, or maybe I can speak with him in this way so that he hears me. And so from experience, that's what I would say. Any other thoughts? Hare Krishna.
Yeah. May I speak?
Oh, yes. Go ahead. Yes. On Zoom, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for a nice class. I like very much the point you made about making friends. And when we go out preaching, I also like the point we're not on a convincing mission. Srila Prabhupada said there are brahmanas waiting on the corners to be picked up by Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. So there are people who are prepared already, they're suffering, and they're ready to hear the message of Lord Chaitanya. If someone isn't ready, then being friendly means not pushing it on them. But Krishna is the most dear friend. He's in all of our hearts. He wants us to come back more than anything, but if we don't want it, he'll empower us to become first-class atheists. So that's a friend, is that you see what your friend wants and you're respectful of that. So if someone isn't listening to your preaching, smile at them. And I think that's also the other thing, is to have a good sadhana. If you chant nice rounds in the morning, you'll automatically be a good preacher, period. If you don't chant good rounds and you had a lousy sadhana and you're in Maya, don't preach. Don't try to approach people. You'll offend them. Prabhupada said if you offend them, you're nonsense and they don't benefit. It's very important that we go out in the right mood. We're happy to be preachers of Lord Chaitanya. We're willing to share something with people, and the right people will see that and they'll become attracted. And if someone isn't attracted automatically, they'll become attracted. Prabhupada talks about the smiling face of a devotee. With Narada Muni met Nalakagara and Manigriva, they were blessed just by seeing the smiling face of a Vaishnava. So just be that smiling Vaishnava and you will automatically be successful.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
I just had a thought, because, this is the 5th chapter now, and this whole previous chapters have been about Hiraṇyakaśipu and how he felt when Hiraṇyakśipu was killed and so forth, and it inspired him to perform these austerities and become even more powerful and frightful to everybody. But in chapter 2, this is called the Hiraṇyakaśipu, King of the Demons, and he's taken it upon himself to console, right, his nephews, who were the sons of Hiraṇyaksha, and their mother. And in so doing, he has this whole little thing where he recounts how Yamaraj came, disguised as a little boy. To, But, I mean, he's preaching, it's like Hiraṇyakaśipu Gita. And I even noticed, which is very interesting, Sri Hiraṇyakaśipu says, this is in the Bhagavatam, I was saying, well, that's pretty odd, Sri. I mean, and so I looked, and sure enough, when Kamsa says something, it's not Sri. It's just, they don't even give him an Uvacha line. It's just like, conscious. So what I'm getting at is that he very expertly consoles them by, the whole thing about the soul is not the body, the soul is still alive. But then he quotes Yamaraj, and there's even something about the Supreme Personality of Godhead here, And so, but then, we're working up to the section where he just loses it with Prahlāda, and he says, "Okay, kill him," and then he's not even frightened or damaged by all of the things they do to him. So that really scares him. But what's all of this is kind of the motto of it, or the conclusion is that because he's obviously very learned, right? Just like Ravana was very Prabhupada pointing out, they're great, but they're still demons, and so they misuse that language, that knowledge. And I was just thinking of modern day preachers. I saw this thing about mega churches. I was curious about them, and the whole prosperity gospel. Oh my God! It's like misusing the idea. And you look at the people, and they're in big churches full of thousands and thousands of people. They're not even churches; they're just stadiums, And you have this one guy up there, and he's convinced many of them, they're there, that if you just pray to God, that ardently, He wants you to be prosperous, and then and I'll show you. You just have to plant the seed. You send $100, and they have multiple private jets, the guy, it's just such a corruption and a misuse of the Bible, of genuine religion. And so that's one of the things that's most demonic here is that he takes the actual knowledge. I mean, it was a genuine incident with Yamaraj, but he misused it for material purposes. And that's really something we need to be careful of. And so now of course he'll just completely, after this purport, we just read this longest purport in this Shravanam Kirtana Vishnu, and now Prahlāda is now going to give more of his preaching to Hiraṇyakaśipu. The next verse, his famous verse,
Yes.
Punak Punak Charvita Charvanana.
A little heavier. He
Yes,
becomes a little heavier. He gets,
You have to bathe yourself in the foot dust of the pure. So it's just amazing how the speaking truth to power, this fragile little 5-year-old boy is actually more powerful because he's infused with Krishna Shakti than this monstrous demon who performed thousands of years of austerity.
Thank you, Dravida Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna?
Yes, Vijay Prabhu, please go ahead.
Yes, I'm confused because in the purport, there's a sentence saying, quote, "Disease is the symptom of the body of a sinful person," unquote. So how do you explain, if I may ask, that sometimes we see that very elevated devotees recognized by the movement as very elevated, they end up dying from terminal diseases like cancer and diseases of the sort, like Tirtha Maharaj. As far as I know, he died because of a cancer, no?
Yes.
So
But
how
it-
do
but
you
it is.
explain that saintly people dying from terminal diseases like cancer and diseases of the sort? If the quote is saying that disease is the symptom of the body of a sinful person, how do you explain that saintly people like Tirtha Maharaj were there dying from a disease like cancer?
This is an editorial question. If I could.
Yes, please, Dravida Prabhu, yes.
When Prabhupada says this, disease is the symptom of the body of a sinful person, he's not saying that whenever we see disease, then that person is sinful, because that's what you're implying, and you could be interpreted that way. But rather, one of the symptoms of a sinful person is disease. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that whenever you see disease, it's a sinful person, or it doesn't mean even that a sinful person may not be very healthy. But it means that one of the things that happens if you're very sinful is that you can become disease. That's what I get from this, because obviously, I mean, you're right. There's very, great souls who have some kind of disease, and it doesn't mean that they're not really great. They were sinful. No, don't take it as that. You see what I'm saying?
So that is not the correct interpretation.
No, it's not the correct interpretation to think that there's disease. Even though he seemed to be very glorious and he founded so many temples all over the world, still looked at, you see, he has cancer. Oh, no, he must be sinful. No, don't take that interpretation.
Yes, going to be the problem.
And also, I'd like to add that when a devotee goes through difficult times or diseases, first it could be he's working off of his karma, and they think that maybe, it could have been worse. I only got away with, I don't know, just some kind of eczema instead of leprosy, or that kind of an idea. So a devotee understands that it's probably karma it's working off. It also could be that Krishna is using you as an example. For example, take my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. I mean, talk about disease, but do you see the disease, or do you see the amazing thing that he does in spite of what he's doing? I mean, he's literally, that soul is carrying that body. That body is done. I mean, that body is more or less done in all medical sense, right? But it's still working for Krishna. If that's not a miracle, then what is? I mean, if that's not proving the truth of Krishna consciousness, to this day, he goes around the world. I mean, amazing. So, that's another reason why devotees. So in order for us to see the potency of Krishna consciousness and to see what a devotee who's really connected to Krishna can do. And of course, Srila Prabhupada himself has had a heart attack. And I mean, read the Leelamrita and you will just be amazed. Like, how does he do these things? Or even any of his, earlier disciples, Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, all these people, how did they do that? Right? And even in spite of this diseases and stuff. So I hope that answers. Any other questions? I thought, go ahead, yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Two things I had in mind. The first one is, you always hear the difficulties that the early devotees had to go through,
Mm-hmm.
My spiritual master, he's been in jail so many times just for a sankirtan, And even Balaram Prabhu, when he went to Turkey, was very restricted, And then when he came back here, he was saying how we have so much freedom to preach, So we should take advantage of that. And also, before, I remember when I first started book distribution, I was thinking, we should try to convince these people. But then His Grace Navina Nirad Prabhu, he did a seminar on book distribution. And then he said, one thing that stood out, he said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And like you said, just be friends with them. So whenever I meet these people that are challenging, like, I'm Christian, or the Bible's I just tell them what Navina Nirad Prabhu says. We need more people like you, and that softens their heart,
Yeah.
So instead of arguing with them, I just say something positive, and like you said, to always leave a good impression.
Yeah.
Thank you much.
Thank you. Yeah, I think being the example is what's most important for everybody. Is to be that example. You can change a lot of minds just by being a good devotee. You don't even have to open your mouth. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Thank you very much. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hello.